welcome to the show. I'm Sherry Schreiner. Hi, Sherry. These shows pre-recorded. No, they're not. You are live with me, and it is 9:04 Eastern Time, so I thought about recording shows and taking a couple months off. It was a thought. Dad said, no, not right now, so we got some stuff coming up, just when you're just, I don't know what's worse, knowing everything's coming and trying to prepare, or just exasperated that nothing's happening and everything's stalled and delayed and you're just in limbo. And so it's one of those things where, I've been doing this radio show for so long, I just spin the wheel. You talk about the same old stuff. You could go back to listen to my shows in 2005, 2006, and they're just as relevant today as any show I could do today. I could just re-record those and run them on Monday nights, and I'd be fine. And those were a lot of years, the early years. I spent a lot of time teaching. And so you can listen to those shows and learn a lot of info because I spent a lot of time teaching back in those days. And then all that stuff I was teaching just ended up, I came out with those 2 books. I'm a little freaked out here and edgy tonight, so there was a snake crawling up my router wire. Oh man, that about gave me a heart attack. You never quite feel safe in your space when a spider invades it, let alone a snake. Oh my gosh. So anyway, we'll get through this. A couple things I want to talk about, summer solstice is next week. And if you're normal and typical like me, you probably could care less. It's the beginning of summer and the hottest day of the year because the sun's out the longest that day. So to us, it's just a normal day. Okay, beginning of summer. To everybody else, it's like Christmas and New Year's wrapped in one. It's a huge holiday because all the occultists and all the witches will be all doing their thing with rituals and sacrifices and making a big deal out of it. And they don't plan any different for this year, except I think the fireworks are going to get a lot bigger this year. They have a lot of things to implement, and they've been trying to do it in the background where no one's looking. And it's like, how do you revamp the entire world's economic system and not want anybody looking? Don't want anybody to notice this stuff. So they throw out all these false flags, and we thought with Obama gone that all that crap would stop. But they're still coming out with the false flags to distract people and send out signals to the rest of the Satanists around the world, however they code those things. That's how they speak to each other, folks. It's all through codes and signals, and I'm looking around my desk. Every little thing makes me jump. And so, a couple things you might want to watch out for next week. I went to YouTube and put in June 21st to see what everybody else has going on. And the finance guys are all, because Julian Assange, there's a video that I posted on my Facebook talking about economic Armageddon begins on June 21st. And a couple of others saying that the dollar will crash on June 21st. Personally, I was looking for something on North Korea. Okay, because this is how it was explained to me, is that before the birth there's a cleansing and preparation time. And on June 21st, they want the birth of their regime, the whole scheme, schematic, this whole New Age, Eighth Agenda. We're ascended masters. We're gonna bring in peace, love, and prosperity. They want their birth on June 21st. And so if you backtrack through the years on all the other times they've claimed that they were going to arrive and have their birthing event, some of the plots back then was to blow up the Hoover Dam in Arizona. It's kind of like on the border of Arizona and Nevada. The Hoover Dam. That was their original plan. And then it was always Phoenix, to blow up the city of Phoenix with a nuke, and then have your phoenix bird rising out of the ashes kind of symbolism thing. And that was going to be a birthing event. And then the dam over at Mount Shasta in Northern California, that whole thing started rumbling and looked like they might use that dam as the birthing event, because we orgoned the heck out of the one at the Hoover. And so, you have to keep your eye out. And I was kind of thinking, it's got to be huge. There's got to be something now, in the here and now, for the preparation and cleansing before the birth. So if they want the birth on June 21st, the big occultic day, which signifies the growing season, because they've already been doing all the planning with all their plotting and setting up this world economy, and all the governments and the Paris Agreement signing on to GESARA, the Global Economic Security Reformation Act. Everybody here knows it as NESARA, National Economic Security and Reformation Act. And this takes the world's currencies and revalues them all at the same level, supposedly. In theory, that's what's supposed to happen. In theory, it sounds like communism, doesn't it? Everybody's on the same playing field. And it's not going to work, but it's the bribe for now. It's the bribe. And so, we're just going to go ahead with their plans. If they're plotting that June 21st is going to be their birthing day, then they have to have something happen before then for the preparation and cleansing. And these people, these beings, are psychopaths. They don't think like us. And so they're going to want sacrifices. They're going to want some kind of terror attack as a sacrifice. And all these little false flags they have all the time right now, they're not big death pull-offs. They don't pull out a lot of sacrifices off those. I mean, there's a few people who get killed and injured, and you don't even know out of that how many's fake. So I'm looking at, since this is the end of all ends, this is going to bring us into the last days with a bang, that we should be looking for a literal bang of some kind. An economic collapse would certainly get a lot of people's attention. But so would blowing up Congress. I'm going to go on a limb, because I kind of live out there anyway, and say we should be watching out for that one. We should be watching for some kind of terror attack on the Capitol building. Now, I'm thinking that would take place. They would literally just blow it up because it has no use for them. They're going to blow it up on a Monday or a Wednesday. I always thought when they did that, it would be in the month of July. Because the plotting and planning took different twists back then. It could be accelerated to now. They're kind of in a crunch. So look for it, because they may move that up. Say, hey, let's use this as the birthing ritual, getting rid of Congress. You know, I'm just saying. I'm just saying. They could pull that off. They could do a blow up the Congress thing and have an economic collapse. Just a boom and a bang, right back to back events. I'm not saying they're not going to do the economic collapse. I just have no info on that. We know that's coming. That's a given. They're just propping up the economy now. I don't think it's time for that, though. I don't think it's time for an economic collapse. Not with the Ascended Masters coming and saying peace, love, and prosperity to everybody. Then again, like I said, they're psychopaths. Maybe they come in on the heels of, destruction here in America. They would like that when they cause it anyway. I mean, who do you think Rothschild works for? He's in their back pocket. He works for them. I don't know what the preparation and cleansing thing would be. Could be nothing. I could be trying to make something out of nothing because I really don't understand this occultic stuff. But it was brought out to me that's a significant event of theirs. Some kind of the preparation and cleansing, and then you have the birth, and they're back-to-back events. And so that would be interesting. Now, what was interesting was I was going to go check my AOL mail at AOL. And on the front news screen, it was talking about North Korea. And interesting, they would come out. Yo, Gavin, in the chat room about did I kill the snake? No. My husband caught it and took it outside. Put it in the woods where it belongs. It was just a gardener snake. But still enough to give me a heart attack. All right, so North Korea openly trolling Trump, threatening to nuke New York City. Why would they nuke their own? First of all, North Korea is just a puppet. He's a robot. He moves when Rothschild takes out his remote and tells him to move. He's just he's working for them. And also Japan, too, because I've always felt that North Korea is just a military arm of Japan. Remember after World War II and Japan never got rid of their military and army, and yeah, that just became North Korea. Okay, so North Korea, Kim Jong-un, whatever his name is, whichever number he is, threatening to nuke New York City. Why would they nuke? They're not going to nuke New York City. They're going to nuke the Capitol building. People say, why not the White House? And I'll tell you in a second why they're not going to nuke the White House. If they nuke anything, it's going to be the Capitol building. I'm hearing something, so I'm a little jumpy. Oh my God, I'm going to PTSD after tonight. All right, so how do they get in the wall on wires, cable wires? That's crazy. All right, so they're not going to nuke New York City. I'm going to take that off the table. Even if they do, then you can come back and say yes, they did. But I'm not even worried about New York City right now. Okay, that's the video. Yeah, I think with these websites, you click on them and then the videos pop up. All right. So North Korea's throwing it out there about how they can reach New York City. Well, you know, there's just going to be a submarine sitting 100 yards off the coast of New York, and they would just nuke it. They would just nuke it from the Atlantic. And who knows, that could be Obama sitting out there in a submarine pressing the button. Because if North Korea is speaking, they're speaking for somebody else. So who's behind North Korea and wants to blow up and destroy America? Obama. So, no, I'm just kidding. But I wouldn't surprise me a bit. He's just robot number 2. The UN for now is in New York City. I know they have a backup in Belgium. And the whole world government and stuff is supposed to be moved to Belgium. So you would think it might be Trump's job to kick the UN out of New York or something, because they already have their backup building in Belgium. And I've heard that They actually have one in Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan is like one of Lucifer's favorite cities. And so I wouldn't be surprised if Kazakhstan, if I'm saying it right, comes into play somewhere. But for right now, they need New York City because if you remember the scriptures, Revelation chapter 13, the Antichrist has power and rules over all nation, tongue, and that's every country in the world. He's the head of global government, and the UN represents global government. So no, I don't see North Korea nuking New York City. But what they have no need for is Congress, because Congress represents a rule by the people. You know, Congress represents America being ruled by the people. And if you've been paying attention since Trump became president, he's been staffing his leadership positions with generals. Now, is it possible because Congress is destroyed, we the people are foregone, and military rule takes over? That's what we're looking at, because if you read the prophets, Isaiah, Jeremiah, they talk about one of the reasons the Father's anger is kindled against Babylon, which is America, is because they rounded up their citizens in internment camps. And we've all been screaming about martial law and FEMA camps for 10 years, probably longer, because that's exactly what they're going to do. Now, how could they accomplish that? Get around our military unless you have the military in control of it. Now, if you're like me, most people don't really think that our military would round up its own citizens. But starting martial law and military rule would be the way to step to ease into that, especially if you had chaos in all the cities because the welfare cards were no longer working, people couldn't eat, people couldn't shop, or even the banks going down, closed. People would go crazy. It would be chaos in the cities. And so they would implement martial law, military comes in, regains control of the cities, and start rounding people up, putting them in camps. Now eventually these military the humans would be replaced by the Nephilim, because that's what I've always seen, and I've always warned about FEMA employees. We're not human, because the ones I've seen are Nephilim. They're like giants, and they're not human, and they're the ones who take over rounding up American citizens. So I'm sure our military would be involved with the first part of it, the first phase, where you're just rounding up hoodlums rioting in the streets. And then when that phase is over and they want to start implementing the beast phase, people who refuse to worship the beast, they would start rounding them up, and that would be probably the Nephilim at that point. We already have Nephilim everywhere. I mean, they're already in our militaries. They've already been training people to be what we call super soldiers from the time they're kids. And also, once you get that chip, the beast chip, you're like not even human anymore. You like lose all your humanity, and you just become a dead carcass, soul scalp possessed. And so if they required all the military soldiers to get the chip, it would destroy them. So they would probably qualify as the alien Nephilim that I know is taking over FEMA. So anyway, folks, it looks like they're plotting for next Wednesday, and so we could have some events by then. Pentagon and military rule. And Trump would go along with that. He's the one staffing his positions now, getting all these generals in the White House, and so they have no need to blow up the White House. What they have no need of is the we the people rule by pretty much soul-scalped reptilian Congress anyway. They're not human. I think maybe 10% of the people are human. I always just sit and watch in amazement. Trey Gowdy. It's like you just wait for his nose to fall off his face. I mean, his whole face always looks like it's a hologram. The guy doesn't even look human. And I like him. He's smart and he hammers everybody, but he's not human. Tell looking at him. And you don't get a position where he's at being human because the requirements are so inhuman. No real human could survive the requirements that it takes. I mean, how many babies can you kill, sacrifice, and eat before you totally broke down as a human and just lost it? Went somewhere into basket case land. I mean, look what war does to soldiers. If you're even just being a driver of a truck in a war zone, those women end up with PTSD. Imagine what the soldiers do on the front lines. So can you imagine if you're in Congress and you've gone to all these rituals and participated in all these satanic rituals, what that would do to your head? And that's why a lot of them are replaced. A lot of them are soul scalped. So, and they don't need it because the 8th regime is all about worshiping Lucifer as God. He's going to control, so he doesn't need Congress anymore. He really doesn't need them. Because what he says goes. You know, he's not going to sit around and wait for world governments anywhere to pass legislation to approve what he wants. And I've told you what this whole restored republic thing is. I mean, that's just changing America, going to Republic of China. And that's another thing. They're going to be here in droves, too. Chinese soldiers. They're going to be here at the time when the beast is here. He's their army. But I'm not talking about Lucifer's arrival just yet. We're just trying to get past June 21st. And if Lucifer is here, it won't be till September. Could be earlier. But, you know, I like the correlations with the Virgo constellation thing. And how it aligns with Revelation 12. The problem is they're telling you the date, September 21st, 23rd, and actually those constellation alignments are probably like that for a good month. It's not like it just slips in place and sits there for 2 days and then stops and goes into something else. It's going to be there a while, longer than 2 days. You know, I always thought he'd come on 9/11. That was always my date, 9/10 and 9/11. And then somehow over the years, the occultists started promoting 9/21 and 9/23 for the day the gates are opened in space, and so. And they very well could be, but that doesn't mean that's when Satan has to arrive. He could be here before then. I mean, when they open the gates, they're letting the crud in, and so that's actually a separate event than Satan himself arriving. So he could arrive before then. What's the significance of 9/11? Why is that such a hot date? Well, that date in history is AV6. And that is the month of AV. I'm probably saying it wrong. Probably like Ave or something like that. Something fancy. But I'm English, so it's AV. And the 6th of AV has always been a day of great reward and great judgment. It's like the day that has both. It's the day that both temples were destroyed. The first temple by the Babylonians, the second temple by the Romans. Both of the temples were destroyed on the day of AV6. And Yahushua ben Joseph, otherwise known as Yahushua ben David, was born on AV6. And if you try to align the ancient Hebrew calendar with today's Gregorian calendar, you would come up with our date of 9/11, September 11th. So, I find that interesting. I think I did a show a couple of years ago on Yahushua's birthday, 9/11. Or maybe I was just answering one of Dana's 100 questions. Dana was drilling me about his birthday. He's my Torah guy. He's the one who was telling me what's in today, what today is. And so I like knowing our history. In fact, today in history is the 18th day of the 3rd month of the Hebrew calendar, and it's when Moses and Aaron and the 70 elders of Israel went up to see the Lord. Where is this? When they were at Sinai. You can read about it, Exodus 24:9 through 13. So that's when Moses went up to see the Lord in the mount. And that's when he got the tables of stone, which we know as 10 Commandments. And that was today, when he received the 10 Commandments. 18th day of the 3rd month. Yeah, it's almost impossible to try to align the Hebrew calendar with the Gregorian calendar. But Dana does a good job figuring it all out. I never could do that. I could never do it in a million years. Although I sit in Bible codes day and night. It's much different than trying to figure out alignments of the calendars. So today he received the 10 Commandments. It's a blast from the past. Go back to this. So if they're going to blow something up Monday or Wednesday to signify June 21st as their launch day for the 8th regime, I guess we just keep our eyes open until I get some more information if I do. I'm not saying the Capitol is going to be blown up. I don't think many people would care. It's not human. But it's something. It would be something to finally get something going. You know, get something going. I don't want to sit around here all summer long twiddling my thumbs, waiting for the arrival, waiting for the birthing event. Let's just get it going. Get it going. Get it on. You know, Jermaine and them have been released. They're out of detainment. They're released so they can go cause mayhem. Get their little currency thing going so they can get this regime on the ground. Get it going. Quit stalling. Now, I'm sure what they're going to do is blame it on the cabal. They always blame. You have to have two sides, the good side and the bad side, so that there's always a different side to blame for things. And so they've made the boogeyman side, and they call it the cabal. George Bush and Clintons and the liberal retards, and all of them are part of the cabal. They call them the evil people, and which they are. I'm not arguing. But if they want to blow up Congress, they'll blame it on the cabal. Even if it is the other side doing it. They have the cabal already set up as the boogie guys and the bad guys and the evil side. They'll just blame it on them. And everyone would believe it anyway, and no one's going to care. So, the principle thing, though, it's the principle that kind of gets under your skin. Because, you know, they're telling us we the people rule is over, and now we're going into a military dictatorship, and eventually the Antichrist steps up and takes over the world anyway, folks. So you're going to see changes anyway. They're coming. I'm not saying it's going to happen this year. I'm not even saying that scenario is going to happen. I'm just saying it's possible. It's possible, and I think it's interesting that AOL puts out the story on North Korea threatening to blow up New York City at this time because you know, they're kind of throwing it out there. Oh, look, we're still under terrorist threats from North Korea. And another reason for that is because they were supposed to be the pivotal birthing event from time the script was written. I mean, back in early 2000s, I probably did a radio show on it back then. Because what they wanted to do was blow up the Korean Peninsula. And at the height of the North Korea Peninsula nuclear war, when it's destroyed by nuclear bombs and explosions, is when the arrival would happen, which the New Agers call the event. it would happen at the height of the Korean War, the nuclear peninsula being blown up. And so maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're playing chicken with America. We're going to blow you up so that America retaliates or whatever and blows up the Korean peninsula. And then the arrival happens, the event, what they call the event, the Ashtar Ascended Masters coming to Earth. So that was the script. That was part of the script. Korean Peninsula, Congress being blown up. Very well could be the White House. I'm just saying. I'm not feeling it. I'm not feeling the White House getting blown up. Now for sacrifices, seeing how they think. And they have to up the scale a little bit because these little false flags are just kindergarten stuff. You know, let's look at their terror list. They're a good old target list because San Francisco, LA, DC, Birmingham, Charleston, South Carolina, Dallas, and Houston have been on their target list forever and a day. So what if they set off nukes in these cities, or one of them? Maybe all of them. Maybe they go back to their original plan of Phoenix, Arizona, and they nuke that. They also have the Holland Tunnel, San Francisco Bridge. What is the big deal of blowing up the San Francisco Bridge? Could somebody please tell me what the big deal is about that? I'll never understand why it's such a target. All these terrorists want to blow up the San Francisco Bridge that connects Oakland, California to San Francisco. Maybe I'm missing something. The Holland Tunnel is a tunnel between New Jersey and New York. I was in one of those tunnels. It was probably the Holland Tunnel I was in. I don't like tunnels. I don't like being boxed in. That didn't last too long, though. It was quick drive. Anyways, Hollywood likes that one. Hollywood likes to show the Holland Tunnel getting blown up. So that's where we're at. We're just kind of watching this week to see if they blow something up or have a major terror attack somewhere so they can count it as their cleansing and their preparation for the birth, the arrival, which they want to do on next Wednesday, the 21st, which would give me plenty of time next Monday night to hype on it if something pans out, if they actually start to do something. We've been waiting for this whole RV thing to start already, and nothing's been happening. And that is the start of this whole regime, so they got to do something. So anyway, Fat Lady's singing. I think I've said everything I needed to say tonight. Prepare people for some things that could be coming. Anyway, folks, be back on Wednesday at noon. God bless everybody. Till then.